Hello comic fans, here's Earl Grey, cheers. This will be a quick update on an older video of mine, Panellogy 349, in which I already spoke about a slew of comic adaptations of Lovecraft stories by Esteban Maroto, Calbert, Eric Creek, Raphael Albuquerque's, and Neil Gaiman's Study in Emerald as well. And I mean, I even spoke for very short about Providence, very short because I didn't like it the first read-through, but now I've read it in German, and I had a new understanding of these stories here. So I want a bit to redeem myself and speak about Providence by Alan Moore and Jason Burrows, and this is one of the two main reasons why I do this video here. The other one are these very excellent manga adaptations by tanabe, and there are two new ones here, The Call of Cthulhu and The Shadow in Time, or The Shadow Out of Time. I don't know how the English original title actually was. So I want to talk about these here. My favorite of the bunch of Watanabe's adaptations of Lovecraftian lore are still the two tomes of Mountains of Madness. This is an excellent adaptation. I guess I spoke about volume 1 in that older video. Totally detailed art, conveying the scientific angle of Lovecraft, the pseudo-scientific angle, in a very fitting and fantastic manner, and the second volume is not less excellent, and so I was very excited to get all the other volumes here and the two most recent ones, and maybe even the richness in detail has a bit decreased, so I wouldn't recommend necessarily to start with these two books, even though there are pretty fantastic comics in their own right, of course. We have some color pages here, and The Call of Cthulhu is for sure a pretty important story in the cycle of Lovecraftian stories. Again, I haven't read the prose novels or these short stories by Lovecraft in their original, so what do I know? I just get my whole information and feel for Lovecraft out of this stuff here. But as you already can see, there are a lot of talking heads in this book here. The Call of Cthulhu, and there will be even more in The Shadow Out of Time. But what I really liked here are these depictions of the main guy, Cthulhu. It's almost, there are several almost postcard views of these little statues here, and later on of the real horror of Cthulhu. So somehow I pondered how I could do a copy of some of these illustrations and put it on my walls as a room decoration. Yeah, but wall space is sparse, you know. So in much ways, a pretty typical Lovecraft stories, as you can see here for yourself. The Shadow Out of Time is not so usual, and it deals a lot with the body travel and is maybe a bit unsettling in that way. It's about this professor guy who's suddenly inhabited by another character, and while he changes and flips personality and time and wakes up 5 years later to figure out that his whole family is and his whole life is gone. His family has dissolved because of his strange behavior, because he was another individual for several years. And yeah, this is real psychological horror, and the story is pretty interesting, I feel. Not so much the comic, because to transport this psychological horror, it's pretty difficult, and we have again lots of talking heads and who don't really deliver the inner horror. I mean, you can feel the inner horror by the story, not so much by the pictures, but you get a lot of this typical Lovecraftian stuff here as well. So no need to not pick this book up here, but it's maybe among the 1, 2, or 3 least favorites of mine in terms of tanabe. Again, the whole series is highly recommended nevertheless. They're all excellent in their own right. So, and it took me a while to enjoy the excellence of this Providence adaptation here by Alan Moore. As they called it in this foreword, or what's the opposite of foreword? Past word? Don't know, epilogue, or however, intelligent words in the end here. It's a kind of pastiche, a collage, I would say, of different Lovecraft tropes to Lovecraft universe. I mean, he has obviously built already some kind of universe which was open to other creators and stuff. Yeah, but the whole excellence of this book here wasn't really out there in the open for me, because I was really annoyed by these parts here. They put in, Alan Moore put in a lot of these pure text pages, and in the German version, I don't know if it was in the English version as well, but in the German version it has this pseudo lettering handwritten style here, so it's clearly computer font, but they really try to make us believe that someone has written it, but it's totally not. And I'm really have some kind of obsessive compulsive disorder when it comes to this one, and I have to figure out which letter is used again and again. And one thing with handwriting is, when the people turn mad, you should see this in the handwriting, but you can't see this in the pretty sterile computer form. It's not a good match, even though you pretend to have some letters scratched out. This makes it even worse for me. Anyhow, and the most or the biggest problem of it all was to read all this stuff here, and basically it is all a repetition of the stuff we have witnessed before in the comic, with lots of more details and atmosphere. And that was my second problem of the books, that Jacen Burrows' art is very sterile or pedestrian. And in many ways it reminded me a bit of Steve Dillon's art for Preacher. I mean, in Preacher, the Steve Dillon art worked because of the great story by Garth Ennis. Here I'm not, in this comic I wasn't so sure the first read through, actually. Yeah, I was sure that I didn't like it. And on top of it, the ugly avatar coloring. So yeah, now you have all my complaints in a bundle that I have with Providence. Now to the good stuff. I mean, the texts here do make sense in a lot of ways. Here we have a letter by the Church of Salem by these Innsmouth people, with lots of reduced orthography and bad grammar, and they're talking about the next breeding campaign on the island in a very reduced and funny language, I feel. So this was a pretty good addition, but yeah, it's just too much text again. And to this complaint, I don't know, hasn't really changed. And there is one part in the story in which one of these characters tell us that people need pictures to get to read their stories. So a bit very condescending, I felt, from Alan Moore to his readers. So that was exactly the point when I decided back in the day, to get rid of these books here and to stop reading. But I haven't finished the book here, and these books, the first read through, and this was a big mistake, I think, because in the end it really adds up to a perfect collage of different storylines of Lovecraft, and very original, shifting through dream and reality, and we have this world of these horror infested dreams and our reality, and Lovecraft is the key, and he appears for real in the stories. Here we have our H.P. Lovecraft in person, talking with our main character here. Or is he a fictional character, or was he a fictional character, or was he for real, or is he still real? All these questions lead somehow up to the core of the Lovecraftian world here, and it's pretty fascinating how Alan Moore manages to blend the Lovecraftian world with his own ideas in a very clever and enriching manner. This sequence here is one that really crept me out, in which our guy, Mr. Black here, switches between dream and lucid nightmares, and a bit like this eternal waking up in the Sandman. Perfectly crafted sequence of pictures, and while I sometimes got the feeling that these texts in this book here do make sense in a way, because the pictures didn't convey all the atmosphere and ideas of Alan Moore's in a proper way, in this part here I really felt this was a perfect combination of text and pictures. And there are some collaged widescreen, very cinematic parts that work very well in this comic format as well. So, on the bottom line, this book here is highly recommended. I still feel that this is not, or in my opinion, it's still not one of the strongest works of Alan Moore, but hey, even a not so strong Alan Moore is still a fantastic comic. And one thing I wanted to mention real quick is a thing that they did here with these German translations, and I wonder why they haven't it done with the English originals by Avatar Press. It was to include two stories here. One called Courtyard, which was a two-issue series here, and is a straight prelude to the Providence story. And we have in Neonomicon called story later on, which is highly important for the Providence story as well. So I really wonder why they haven't included it in the English original, or at least I would highly recommend, if you have enjoyed Providence in its English original, to check out The Courtyard 1 and 2 and Neonomicon, I guess a 4-issue series it was. Yeah, it was a 4-issue series here. This is the cover for the last Neonomicon, which is obviously a play on Necronomicon, the evil book. So that was my not so short update for my older video, Panellogy 349. Thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.